The last ship rose from Earth's surface like a dying star against the poisoned sky, watched from the shadows of what had once been the Amazon rainforest. Now only dead stumps and cracked earth remained where the great trees had stood for thousands of years. The old pressed his bark-like hand against the trunk of a dying mahogany tree. Through their connection, he felt the tree's final moments of life slipping away. The humans had taken everything they could carry and left behind only waste and death. "Elder, they are truly leaving," whispered a younger whose green skin had started to turn brown from the toxic air. She stood beside him, her root feet deep in soil that would grow nothing. Nodded slowly. His ancient eyes, like pools of amber sap, reflected the fire-red sky above them. For over 300 years, he had watched the humans destroy their world. They had stayed hidden all this time, hoping the humans would learn to live with the earth instead of against it. But that hope had died long ago. The massive evacuation ships disappeared into the stars, carrying the last of humanity to distant worlds. Earth grew quiet in a way it had not been for centuries. No more machines digging into the ground. No more factories pumping poison into the air. No more cities spreading like a disease across the land. But the silence was not peaceful. It was the silence of death. Pulled his hand away from the dying tree and turned to face the small group of who had gathered behind him. They had come from all over the world, the last of their kind who had survived humanity's destruction. Some came from the dead coral reefs of the ocean floors. Others emerged from underground caverns where they had hidden for generations. A few crawled out from the toxic waste dumps where they had tried to clean the poison from the soil. "How many of us are left?" asked. 43 in total, Elder said, whose massive trunk-like body bore scars from acid rain. "We found 12 more in the deep caves beneath what the humans called Australia. The others, they could not survive the changes." Felt a deep sadness in his wooden heart. Once, thousands of had lived across the world, helping trees grow and keeping the forests healthy. They had been the secret guardians of Earth's green places. Now so few remained. He looked around at the wasteland that surrounded them. The air burned their leaves when they breathed. The ground was hard as stone and nothing could grow in it. The rivers ran thick with chemicals that would kill any plant that touched them. The oceans had turned acid bright and empty of life. "The humans called Earth economically unviable," said, remembering the final broadcasts they had intercepted. "They said it was beyond rehabilitation. They think this world is dead." "Is it not?" asked Young, her voice small and frightened. "Elder, look around us. Nothing grows, nothing lives. Maybe the humans were right to leave." Was quiet for a long moment. He reached down and picked up a handful of the poisoned earth. It was gray and felt like ash between his fingers. But as he held it, he could sense something the others could not. Deep beneath all the poison and death, something still lived, something small and patient and strong. "No," he said finally. "Earth is not dead. She is only sleeping, buried under all this hurt and pain. We can wake her up. We can heal what they have broken." The other looked at each other with doubt. The task seemed impossible. How could they fix damage that had taken humans centuries to create? How could 43 plant beings clean an entire world? "Elder said carefully, "We are too few. Even if we spent 1,000 years working, could we really undo all of this?" Smiled, and when he did, tiny flowers bloomed along the bark of his arms. It was the first new life any of them had seen in months. "We are not alone," he said. "We never have been. The humans only saw themselves when they looked at Earth. They never saw the others who share this world with us." As if his words had called them, shapes began to move in the distance. From cracks in the poisoned ground came the petroglyphs, beings of living stone who had slept deep in Earth's core while the humans ruled the surface. Their crystal eyes glowed with inner light as they rose from their long rest. High above, wisps of energy danced in the toxic clouds. The Nimbi had been hiding in the upper atmosphere, waiting for the metal birds of humanity to leave the sky. Now they descended like living lightning, their forms shifting between wind and light. "You see," said to his people, "Earth has many children. We all love her in our own way. We all want to see her well again." The eldest of the petroglyphs rolled forward, his body like a moving mountain. When he spoke, his voice was the sound of stones grinding together. "Friend, we have waited long for this day. The wound makers have left. Now we can begin the healing." A nimbus swirled down from the sky, her voice like wind through grass. "The deep waters call to us. The airstreams sing of cleaning. We are ready to work." Felt hope grow in his chest like a seed finding sunlight. He turned to face all of them, petroglyphs and nimbi together. Around them, the dead world stretched in all directions. But for the first time in centuries, it did not seem hopeless. "We will make Earth green again," he said, his voice carrying the strength of ancient oaks. "We will clean her waters and heal her air. We will bring back the forests and fill the oceans with life. And when we are done, she will be more beautiful than she ever was before." He knelt down and placed both hands on the poisoned ground. "We make this promise to you, Earth. We will protect you, we will heal you, and we will never abandon you no matter how long it takes." Around him, all the other beings knelt as well. Petroglyphs and nimbi all touched the damaged Earth with their own hands and bodies and energy. Together, they made the sacred vow that would guide them for the next 3 centuries. Earth was not dead. She was only waiting for her true children to bring her back to life. 300 years passed like seasons changing, but the work never stopped. Stood on what had once been a dead mountain, now covered in silver trees that reached toward the clean blue sky. Their leaves sang in the wind, a sound Earth had not heard for centuries. Below him, a crystal-clear river ran where poisoned wasteland used to be. He was old now, even by standards. His bark had grown thick and deep with age, and moss covered his shoulders like a green cloak. But his amber eyes still shone bright with purpose as he watched the world they had rebuilt. "Elder, the South American groves report full restoration," said, who had grown into a strong leader over the centuries. Her green skin now glowed with health, and flowers bloomed constantly in her hair. "The oxygen levels are higher than they were even before the humans arrived." Smiled, and the ocean projects. Says the coral cities are thriving. The new reef systems have spread across 3 continents. The fish have returned in numbers we never dreamed possible. It had not been easy work. The first 100 years had been the hardest. The 3 races had to learn to work together, combining their different abilities to heal Earth's wounds. They had focused on the land. Using their deep understanding of plant life, they had created new types of trees and grasses that could clean poison from the soil. They grew vast forests of coral trees, part plant, part mineral, that could filter toxins from both air and water. These strange new trees were stronger than the old ones, able to resist damage while cleaning the environment around them. The petroglyphs worked deep underground. They had stabilized Earth's core, which had been damaged by centuries of mining and drilling. They created new mineral networks that helped distribute nutrients through the soil. Most importantly, they had built vast underground chambers where they could store and slowly neutralize the worst of the toxic waste the humans had left behind. The nimbi had taken on the hardest job of all, cleaning the atmosphere. For decades, they had worked in the poisoned sky, breaking down harmful chemicals and rebuilding the ozone layer. They had learned to eat pollution and turn it into clean air. Their energy forms had grown stronger over time, and now they danced through perfect blue skies instead of hiding in toxic clouds. But the 3 races had done more than just fix the damage. They had made Earth better than it had ever been before. "Come," said two, "let us visit the floating gardens." They walked together through the silver forest, their root feet silent on the moss-covered ground. Small animals ran past them, rabbits with fur that glowed softly in the dark, birds whose songs could heal sick plants, butterflies whose wings cleaned the air as they flew. The shepherds had not just brought back the old animals. They had improved them, giving them small gifts that would help them take care of Earth. Every creature now played a part in keeping the world healthy. At the edge of the forest, they came to where the floating gardens began. Huge structures of living coral and crystal hung in the air, held up by the nimbi's energy fields. Gardens grew on every surface, creating forests in the sky. Waterfalls poured from the floating islands, carrying nutrients to the plants below. "It is beautiful," said, watching a family of deer with silver antlers graze on one of the lower platforms. "But sometimes I wonder, do we have the right to change so much?" Followed her gaze to where a group of young petroglyphs were teaching human-made machines to grow plants. The machines had been left behind, broken and useless, but the shepherds had found ways to give them new life and purpose. "We are not the owners of this world," said thoughtfully. "We are its caretakers. Everything we do to help Earth flourish. We never take more than we need, and we always give back more than we use." This was the most important lesson the shepherds had learned over the centuries. They called themselves the Alliance of Shepherds because that was what they were, guardians who protected and guided, but did not control. Each race had kept careful records of their work. They documented every change they made and every new species they created. They wanted future generations to understand what they had done and why. "The archives grow larger every year," said's voice from behind them. The massive petroglyph had arrived silently, his crystal body reflecting the sunlight like a living rainbow. 5,000 species saved from extinction. 2,000 new species created to fill empty niches. 700 toxic sites fully cleaned and restored. "And how many years of work remaining?" asked. "At current pace, the deep ocean cleaning will be complete in another 50 years. The atmospheric restoration is ahead of schedule. The NIMBY have exceeded all expectations. The soil renewal projects." Paused, his crystal eyes flickering as he calculated. "Another century for full completion, but most areas are already better than their original state." Nodded, and if uninvited guests arrive? It was a question they asked often during their council meetings. The shepherds knew that someday someone might come to Earth. Maybe the humans would return. Maybe other alien races would discover their beautiful world. They wanted to be ready. "The defense networks are in place," reported. "Living coral that can shield the planet, crystal barriers that can rise from underground. The NIMBY can create storms to protect us if needed. But we hope never to use them," finished. "Yes, this world is meant for life, not for war." Looked out over the paradise they had created together. In the distance, he could see underwater cities where the petroglyphs lived alongside sea creatures. Above, the NIMBY danced through crystal palaces floating in the clouds. And everywhere they tended their gardens and forests, making sure every plant and tree was healthy and strong. Earth was not just alive again, it was more alive than it had ever been. The shepherds had created a perfect balance between all living things. Every creature, from the smallest insect to the largest whale, had a role to play in keeping the world healthy. But sometimes felt a sadness in his wooden heart. This beautiful world had been built by children who were not its original inhabitants. The shepherds had made Earth into a garden, but it was a garden for beings who had never been born here. "Do you ever wonder if we did the right thing?" he asked his companions. And looked at him with surprise. "What do you mean, Elder?" asked. "The humans were born on this world. It was their home first, even if they did not know how to care for it. Have we stolen their birthright by making it ours?" His crystal body dimmed slightly. "We have only been its guardians, as you said. If they return, we will welcome them. We will teach them how to live with Earth instead of against it." "Yes," said, but his voice was troubled. "If they return as friends, but what if they return as conquerors?" It was a question none of them wanted to answer. For 300 years, the shepherds had worked in peace, building their paradise without fear. But in his deepest dreams, sometimes saw ships falling from the sky like metal rain, bringing war to their garden world. He pushed the dark thoughts away. Today was for celebrating their success. Tomorrow would bring whatever challenges it held. "Come," he said to his friends. "Let us go to the Heart Grove. I want to add today's report to the archives. Future generations should know how beautiful Earth became when it was loved instead of used." Together, the three shepherds walked toward the center of their rebuilt world, where the greatest of all their achievements waited, a living library that would preserve their story for all time. The warning came from the NIMBY who lived in the outer atmosphere. Their energy forms could sense things approaching from space long before any machine could detect them. "Ships," whispered one of the eldest NIMBY as she descended to the floating crystal platform where the Alliance Council was meeting. "Many ships. They move with purpose toward our world." Felt his wooden heart grow cold. After 300 years of peace, the thing he had feared most was finally happening. "How many?" asked, his crystal body flickering with nervous light. 57 vessels, replied, her form shifting between purple lightning and silver wind. "Large ships, built for war but also for carrying many people. They will arrive within 3 days." Stood up from where she had been tending to a garden of memory flowers. Her green face had gone pale. Could it be them, the original inhabitants? Closed his ancient eyes and reached out with his consciousness, touching the great network of roots and vines that connected all plant life on Earth. Through this vast web, he could feel the planet's response to the approaching ships. Earth remembered these energy signatures. After 3 centuries, the humans were coming home. "Yes," he said quietly, "they have returned." The next 3 days passed like a nightmare for the shepherds. The human fleet took positions around Earth, their massive ships casting shadows on the crystal cities below. Long-range scanners swept across the planet's surface, analyzing everything the shepherds had built. The shepherds watched from their hidden places as small human scout ships landed on floating platforms and forest clearings. The humans who emerged wore environmental suits and carried strange devices that beeped and flashed as they examined the restored world. Heard their radio transmissions through the technological systems the petroglyphs had learned to interface with over the centuries. "Incredible," said one voice. "Atmospheric composition is perfect for human life, better than when we left." "Look at these structures," said another. "This isn't natural coral growth, something built these cities." "Sir, I'm reading massive biological networks underground. It's like the entire planet is connected by some kind of living system." The humans were amazed by what they found, but notice they talked about Earth like it was a prize to be claimed rather than a home to be respected. On the fourth day, the largest human ship sent out a communication to the entire planet. The message was broadcast on all frequencies, impossible to ignore. "This is Admiral Helena of the Terran Reclamation Authority, speaking to any intelligent life forms currently residing on Earth. We are the descendants of this world's original inhabitants, returning to reclaim our ancestral home. We request immediate contact with your leadership to discuss the terms of our recolonization." The words hit like a physical blow. Recolonization, as if the shepherds were just temporary visitors who would step aside when the real owners returned. After much debate among the Alliance, they decided that would make first contact. He was the oldest and among them, and he still hoped that the humans might be different from their ancestors. The meeting took place in a beautiful meadow at the foot of the Crystal Mountains. Arrived alone, his massive form moving slowly through the soft grass. Flowers bloomed wherever his feet touched the earth. Admiral brought 12 humans with her. They wore advanced armor that gleamed like metal skin, and they carried weapons that hummed with energy. The Admiral herself was a tall woman with steel-gray hair and eyes the color of winter sky. She looked at without fear, but also without warmth. "You are the leader of the aliens who have been living on our world?" she asked. Felt anger stir in his wooden heart, but he pushed it down. "I am, first guardian of the and elder of the Alliance of Shepherds. We have been the caretakers of this world since your people abandoned it." "Caretakers," Admiral repeated, her voice flat. "How interesting, we prefer the term occupiers." "Your people left this world to die," said, trying to keep his voice calm. "The air was poison, the water was acid, nothing could grow. We have spent 300 years healing the damage your ancestors caused." The Admiral looked around at the paradise that surrounded them. "And we are grateful for your maintenance work. Earth is indeed more beautiful than our records indicated it would be. That will make resettlement much easier." "Resettlement?" asked, though he feared he knew what she meant. "Earth belongs to humanity by right of origin," Admiral said, pulling out a device that projected glowing documents into the air. "These are legal claims filed with the Galactic Council. Earth is registered as sovereign human territory. Your people will need to relocate." Stared at the floating documents. They meant nothing to him, just human words trying to put ownership on something that belonged to itself. "This world is not property," he said. "Earth is a living being. We are her partners, not her owners. You cannot simply claim her like an empty house." Admiral's eyes hardened. "Earth is a planet, a very valuable planet. Our colony worlds are struggling. We need the resources and living space that our can provide." For the first time, heard something besides arrogance in her voice. Fear. The humans were not returning as conquerors, they were returning as refugees. "What has happened to your colonies?" he asked. The Admiral hesitated, then seemed to decide that honesty might serve her better than threats. "Our artificial ecosystems are breaking down. We never learned to build sustainable worlds. We can create technology and cities, but we cannot create life that lasts. 7 of our 12 colonies have already been abandoned. The rest will fail within a generation." Felt a deep sadness wash over him. The humans had made the same mistakes again, just on other worlds. They had learned nothing from Earth's near death. "Then learn," he said simply. "Stay here. We will teach you how to live with the world instead of against it. There is room for all of us." Admiral shook her head. "You don't understand. We don't want to live with the world. We want to live on it. Humans need cities. We need industry. We need to shape our environment to suit our needs." That is what killed this world the first time, warned. And you brought it back to life, the Admiral replied. If we damage it again, we're confident that your people can repair it again. The casual assumption in her words struck like lightning. The humans were not just planning to reclaim Earth. They were planning to use it up again, knowing that the shepherds could fix whatever they broke. We will not be your servants, said, his voice growing hard as oak. We will not clean up your messes while you destroy what we have built. Admiral sighed. I hoped you would be reasonable. Your people have done excellent work here, but Earth needs to be used for more than just gardening. We are prepared to offer you generous compensation. There are beautiful moons in the outer system. You could build wonderful gardens there. This is our home now, said. We will not leave. The Admiral's hand moved to the weapon at her side. I was hoping you wouldn't say that. You see, we're not actually asking. We're telling. The Terran Reclamation Authority has legal rights to this planet. You have 30 days to evacuate. And if we refuse? Admiral looked around at the crystal cities floating in the distance and the silver forests that stretched to the horizon. Then we will remove you ourselves. We have weapons that can sterilize entire continents. We really don't want to use them, but we will if we must. Felt the network of plants around him reacting to his emotions. Flowers began to close. Trees started to pull their branches inward. Even the grass beneath their feet seemed to shiver with fear and anger. You would destroy your own again? He asked. We would clean up whatever mess we make, the Admiral said. After all, we'll have 300 years of your research data to work with. I'm sure we can figure out how to grow things back. For a moment, could not speak. The humans thought they could just take everything the shepherds had learned and use it for themselves. They believed that restoration was just another form of technology to be and controlled. This meeting is over, he said finally. You have 30 days to reconsider your position. We will not leave and we will not serve you. As turned to walk away, Admiral called after him. You're making a mistake, Tree Man. We're not the same humans who left 300 years ago. We're stronger now, smarter, and we're desperate. Desperate people do terrible things. Did not turn around, but as he walked back toward the Crystal Mountains, he felt Earth herself stirring beneath his feet. The planet was beginning to wake up, and she was angry. The humans had no idea what they were threatening to destroy, but they were about to learn. The humans did not wait 30 days. On the 10th day after first contact, massive atmospheric processors descended from the fleet like metal mountains falling from the sky. They landed in the heart of the silver forests, crushing ancient trees beneath their weight. Immediately, they began pumping chemicals into the air, chemicals designed to change Earth's perfect atmosphere back into something the humans considered optimal. Felt every tree that died as if it were his own child. Through the root network, he experienced their pain as the human machines poisoned the air around them. Leaves withered and fell like green snow. Animals fled in terror as their carefully balanced ecosystem began to collapse. They are not waiting, said, her voice tight with grief and anger. She had run from the southern continent to bring the news. Her normally bright green skin was spotted with brown patches where acid rain from the processors had touched her. They have started mining operations in Australia, the coral cities. They are breaking them apart to harvest the crystal formations. Emerged from the underground chambers, his crystal body dimmed with fury. They have sent drilling machines deep into the earth. They are tearing apart the mineral networks we spent centuries building. The underground chambers where we stored the old poisons, they have breached 3 of them already. Descended from the upper atmosphere, her energy form flickering with distress. The sky cities are under attack. They are using sonic weapons to shatter our floating platforms. Many of our people have fallen to the earth below. Stood in the center of his grove, feeling the network of life around him screaming in pain. The humans were not just reclaiming Earth. They were systematically destroying everything the shepherds had built. Have they sent any communication? He asked. Yes, said, her voice bitter. Admiral broadcast a message to all inhabited areas. She says they are beginning preliminary terraforming operations to restore Earth to human-compatible conditions. She warns all aliens to stay away from active work zones for their own safety. Felt his wooden heart break. The humans did not see the paradise the shepherds had created. They saw only raw materials to be processed and obstacles to be removed. They are killing everything, whispered a young named who had barely survived the destruction of his forest home. The machines do not stop. They burn the trees, poison the rivers, and crush anything that grows. They say they are making Earth ready for life, but they are bringing death. Through the root network, could sense the fear and confusion of millions of creatures across the world. The animals the shepherds had saved and improved were dying by the thousands. 300 years of careful restoration was being undone in mere days. "We have to fight back," said, his crystal body glowing with dangerous light. "We cannot let them destroy everything we have built." "How?" asked. "They have weapons we have never seen before. Their ships could destroy us from orbit if we oppose them directly." It was true. The shepherds had never built weapons of war. They were healers and gardeners, not soldiers. Their defenses were meant to protect against natural disasters or perhaps small groups of explorers, not against a full military invasion. But some of the younger shepherds had already begun trying to resist. Reports came in of Brave trying to grow thick vines around human machines, only to be cut down by laser cutters. Petroglyphs had attempted to destabilize the ground beneath atmospheric processors, but human force fields had protected the devices. Nimbi had tried to create storms to ground human aircraft, but the ship's shields were too strong. Every act of resistance only made the humans more aggressive. "Admiral sent another message," reported sadly. "Any aliens found interfering with human operations will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. 3 of our people have already been dealt with." Closed his eyes in grief. He had hoped against all logic that the humans might be different from their ancestors. But they were worse. The old humans had destroyed Earth through ignorance and greed. These new humans were destroying it with full knowledge of what they were taking away. That night, unable to sleep, walked through what remained of his grove. Half the trees were dead or dying from the chemical clouds drifting from the atmospheric processors. The flowers had closed their petals and would not open. Even the grass felt brittle and afraid beneath his feet. In the distance, he could see the lights of human construction sites where forests used to be. Giant machines worked through the night, clearing away centuries of growth to make room for human cities. The sound of their metal teeth cutting through wood carried for miles on the poisoned wind. A young nimbus approached him, her energy form barely visible against the toxic clouds that now filled the night sky. "Elder," she said, her voice like wind through dying leaves. "I bring word from the deep ocean. The humans have begun harvesting the coral cities for building materials. They are using sonic weapons to break apart the reef structures. The sea life. It is fleeing to the deepest places, but there is nowhere to hide." Felt as if his branches were breaking. "How many cities have they taken?" 7 so far. They work very fast. They seem to know exactly where everything valuable is located." The young nimbus paused. "Elder, I think they have been studying our world since they arrived. They have detailed maps of everything we built." Of course they did. The humans had spent days scanning Earth before making contact. They had learned the location of every city, every forest, every carefully balanced ecosystem. They had planned this invasion from the moment they saw what the shepherds had accomplished. As stood in his dying grove, he began to understand the full scope of the betrayal. The humans had never intended to negotiate. First contact had been a formality, a way to assess the shepherds' strength and defenses. The 30-day deadline had been meaningless. They had always planned to begin operations immediately. "They are not here to reclaim their," said, the truth hitting him like a falling tree. "They are here to strip mine it." The young nimbus flickered with confusion. "What do you mean, Elder?" "Their colony worlds are dying because they never learned to build sustainable societies. They do not want to live on Earth, they want to consume it. They will take everything we have built, extract every resource we have gathered, and when Earth is empty again, they will move on to the next world." It all made sense now. Admiral had mentioned having the shepherds research data. The humans planned to take not just Earth's physical resources, but also the knowledge of how to restore dead worlds. They would use the shepherds' techniques to repair their damaged colonies while leaving Earth a wasteland once again. "But Elder," the nimbus said, "surely they understand that Earth is there. Surely they care about preserving it." Looked up at the stars where the human fleet hung like a metal infection in Earth's orbit. To them, Earth is just another colony world now. They have been away for 300 years. They have no connection to this soil, these trees, these waters. We love Earth more than they ever did because we chose to stay when they chose to leave. The realization filled him with a rage he had never felt before. These humans were not the children of Earth returning home. They were aliens who happened to share DNA with Earth's former inhabitants. They were raiders and thieves, using the excuse of their ancestry to steal a world they had already abandoned once. But as his anger grew, felt something else stirring. Deep beneath his feet, traveling through the vast network of roots and mycorrhizal connections, he sensed a response to his emotions. Earth herself was beginning to react to the pain and destruction above. For 300 years, the shepherds had connected themselves more and more deeply to the planet's living systems. They had become part of Earth's immune system, her nervous system, her consciousness. And now that consciousness was awakening, triggered by the threat to everything she had become. Knelt down and placed his hands on the poisoned Earth. Through the network, he sent a message to every shepherd across the world. "Gather at the Heart Grove," he told them. "It is time to call upon our deepest bond with this world. The humans think Earth belongs to them because they were born here, but we have become something more than her children. We have become her voice." As shepherds began to converge from across the planet, felt Earth's anger growing beneath him like magma rising toward the surface. The humans had made a fatal mistake. They thought they were fighting against aliens who had occupied their world. They had no idea they were about to face the world itself. At the heart of Earth, where the deepest roots connected to form a vast living web, made his choice. Around him in the sacred grove, every surviving shepherd had gathered, whose bark was by human weapons, petroglyphs whose crystal bodies were cracked from sonic attacks, nimbi whose energy forms flickered weakly from breathing poisoned air. All of them looked to their eldest leader for guidance as their world died around them. "We cannot fight their weapons," said his ancient voice carrying the weight of centuries. "We cannot match their technology, but there is one thing we can do that they cannot. We can become one with the world itself." He knelt at the center of the grove where the largest tree grew. Its trunk was massive enough to hold a city, and its roots reached deeper than any human machine could drill. This tree was the heart of the network, the place where all life on Earth connected. "Elder, no," whispered, understanding what he meant to do. "If you merge completely with the network, you will lose yourself. You will cease to be." "Perhaps," he replied, placing his hands on the ancient bark. "But Earth will gain a voice, and right now she needs to speak very loudly." Through the tree's massive trunk, could feel the planet's pain like fire in his veins. Every forest burned by human atmospheric processors. Every coral city shattered for building materials. Every animal killed by toxic chemicals. Earth was screaming in agony, but she had no way to fight back. The shepherds had spent 3 centuries teaching Earth to trust them, to work with them, to love them. Now would give Earth something she had never had before, the ability to defend herself. He pressed deeper into the connection, feeling his individual consciousness begin to dissolve into something vast and ancient. His memories became Earth's memories. His love for the world became the world's love for itself. His anger at the humans' betrayal became a rage that shook the planet's core. Above ground, Admiral was overseeing the construction of New Geneva, the first human city to be built on the restored Earth. The site had been chosen because it sat on top of one of the most beautiful groves, a grove that had been 3 days earlier. "Construction ahead of schedule, Admiral," reported her chief engineer. "The alien biostructures are actually quite useful. The crystal formations make excellent building materials, and the organic components break down into perfect soil for our agricultural domes." Nodded, watching massive machines pour concrete foundations where silver trees had grown for centuries. "What about resistance from the aliens?" "Minimal, ma'am. A few scattered attacks on our mining operations, but nothing our defenses can't handle. Most of them seem to be retreating to remote areas." "Good. The sooner we can establish a permanent presence, the sooner we can begin full resource extraction. Have the atmospheric processors reached optimal output?" "Yes, ma'am. We should have human normal air composition within 6 months. The alien improvements to the atmosphere were impressive, but inefficient for our needs." Admiral allowed herself a small smile. Earth was indeed more beautiful than their records had suggested, but beauty was less important than utility. The alien gardeners had done excellent work preparing the planet for proper human development. Soon, Earth would be producing the resources needed to save their dying colony worlds. That was when the ground began to shake. It started as a small tremor, barely enough to rattle equipment, but within seconds it grew into something more. The concrete foundations of New Geneva began to crack. Construction vehicles slid sideways as the earth beneath them shifted. "Earthquake," someone shouted. "All personnel to emergency stations." But this was no ordinary earthquake. As Admiral watched in amazement, the ground around the construction site began to rise up like a living thing. The soil flowed like water, forming walls and barriers around the human machines. Massive roots burst from the earth, wrapping around atmospheric processors like grasping fingers. "Sir," came a frantic voice over her radio. "The mining operation in Australia is under attack. The crystal formations are growing back faster than we can harvest them. The ocean sites report massive tidal waves, but they're not random. The water is targeting our platforms specifically. Admiral, you need to see this. The trees are moving." Looked up to see the distant forest swaying without wind. But they were not just swaying, they were walking. Ancient trees pulled their roots from the ground and began moving toward human installations like slow, giant soldiers. In the sky above, storm clouds gathered with impossible speed. But these were not normal clouds. Lightning danced between them in patterns too complex for nature, and the thunder spoke in voices that sounded almost like words. "What is happening?" demanded, but her officers had no answers. Deep beneath the surface, consciousness merged completely with Earth's living network. Through billions of roots and countless creatures, he felt the planet awakening to her own power. For the first time in her long existence, Earth could act with purpose and intelligence. The atmospheric processors that had poisoned her air found themselves sinking into suddenly unstable ground. The mining machines that had torn apart her crystal cities were crushed by rocks that fell with perfect precision. The human ships in orbit discovered that their systems were failing as electromagnetic pulses rose from the planet's surface, pulses generated by creatures they had never seen before. But Earth was not randomly destructive. Through guidance, she carefully protected any humans who had shown respect for her beauty. A few scientists who had tried to study rather than destroy her creations found themselves sheltered by growing trees when the storms came. Some engineers who had expressed amazement at the shepherd's work were gently lifted away from danger by helpful roots. Admiral was one of the humans who found herself protected. As chaos erupted around her, a massive tree grew up from the ground beside her command post. Its branches formed a protective canopy over her head, while its roots created barriers around her position. "Admiral," said a voice that seemed to come from the earth itself. It was voice, but deeper now, carrying the weight of an entire world behind it. She looked around wildly, trying to find the source of the sound. "Who is speaking? Where are you?" "I am everywhere," the voice replied. "I am the soil beneath your feet and the air in your lungs. I am the tree that shelters you and the grass that cushions your fall. I am Earth, and I am awake." Stared at the tree above her head. In its bark, she could see patterns that looked almost like a face, ancient, wise, and very, very angry. "You're the alien leader." "I was, now I am something more. I am the voice of the world you abandoned, the world you are trying to destroy again." Around them, the sounds of destruction continued. Human machines screamed as they were crushed or buried. Construction sites collapsed into sinkholes that opened with surgical precision. But no humans were being killed, they were simply being stopped, contained, made powerless to continue their destruction. "You cannot fight us," said, though her voice shook. "We have weapons that could sterilize this entire planet if we choose to use them." "Yes," voice agreed sadly. "You could kill me. You could burn away every living thing on my surface, but then you would have nothing but a dead rock floating in space, and your colony worlds would still be dying, and you would still be the same people who destroy everything they touch." The tree's branches shifted, and Admiral found herself looking directly into eyes made of amber sap and starlight. "I offer you a choice, Admiral, the same choice I offered you before, but with different terms. You may stay on this world. Some of you may stay. Those who can learn to live as partners instead of conquerors, those who can love Earth instead of using her. And the others will leave. Your weapons are powerful, but you need this planet more than it needs you. I can wait longer than your colonies can survive. Choose wisely." For a long moment, Admiral said nothing. Around her, she could hear the sounds of her invasion force being systematically dismantled by a living planet. Her ships in orbit were reporting total systems failures. Her atmospheric processors were sinking into the ground like stones into water. Earth had become something humanity had never encountered before, a world that could defend itself. What guarantee do we have that you won't destroy us the moment we lower our weapons? She asked. The same guarantee we had that you would not betray our trust, his voice replied. None at all. But unlike you, we have spent centuries learning to nurture life instead of destroying it. Trust must begin somewhere. Admiral looked up at the tree that protected her, then out at the paradise that her people had been systematically destroying. For the first time since arriving at Earth, she truly saw it not as a resource to be exploited, but as a living work of art that had taken centuries to create. Some of my people will want to learn, she said finally. Some will want to stay and be part of what you have built here. They will be welcome, Earth replied through his voice, as will their children and their children's children, but they must choose to be gardeners, not conquerors. And the rest of us will take your knowledge of our restoration techniques and go forth to heal the worlds you have damaged. You will become the guardians of other planets, as we have been guardians of this one. Admiral felt tears on her cheeks. Around her, the sounds of destruction had stopped. In the distance, she could see some of her people emerging from protective shelters created by helpful trees and stones. They looked around in wonder at the world that had defeated them without killing them. We protected this world when it was abandoned, Earth said through his voice, speaking to all humanity at once. It has chosen its true children, and they are not only the ones who left it to die. They are also the ones who stayed to heal it and the ones who choose now to love it. High above, the storm clouds began to part, revealing stars that shone more brightly than they had in centuries. Earth was awake now, and she would never again be silent in the face of those who would harm her. The age of partnership had begun.